Hello, hello. Welcome. Thank you, everybody, for joining. I'm not at home today again, so hello from my travel streaming rig. This is the weirdest hotel room just before we even get started. I don't know if you can tell, like, the size in here is, I'm in this little, like, alcove that's kind of set up as a dining area, but it's so small, but it was like the only place I could figure out to actually set things down. So weird. Also, like, I'm only really using natural light because there's a giant window up there, but the window starts 8 feet high. So I can't even see out the window, which is a bummer because I'm really high up on a high floor and it would be nice to look outside. Anyway, hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. I have in front of me, I have the YoloBox Pro. I've got my computer here to show you things on that if we are doing that. If you are following me on Instagram, which if you are not yet, you should, because I went live a couple hours ago while I was setting this stream up using the new Instream from Yololiv. So this is still the prototype, early pre-release version. It's coming out very soon. I've been testing this out for a couple of weeks, but I've only had a couple of chances to try it out because I've been traveling a bunch. But this is a little bit smaller than the YoloBox Pro, 2 HDMI inputs. Can you see if I do this? Yes, 2 HDMI inputs, USB, HDMI out, which I haven't plugged in yet to anything, Ethernet, and it looks a lot like the YoloBox Pro, but it runs Instagram. So it actually has the real Instagram app on there, and then you can do things like switch to different cameras, do overlays and countdowns and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, super fun. I did a little test with it this morning while I was setting this up, and yeah. Anyway, I will be doing a proper video about this soon, so keep an eye out on the channel for that. We might be able to test it out live here too if we are looking for more things to cover. But hello to everybody in the chat. Let me see who's here. See if we can show some of these on the screen. Nice to do a pre-show on Instagram before the YouTube show, work out some of the kinks and the bugs. Yeah, totally. Graham says, are there any rules against flying a drone in the hotel room you should be able to see out the window? That is a good point. The FAA does not govern the airspace inside of buildings, so I suppose it's up to the property owner as to whether you're allowed to fly inside of a building. Normally there's not a reason to fly inside of a small room like this, but I don't see why that would be a problem. The ceilings are like 16 feet tall, so there's definitely room to fly in here. There definitely is room. Don't know if I want to push my luck with that, but we could. We could do it. Oh, there was some questions from earlier. Let's see if I can find them on the YoloBox. It takes a while to scroll through these on the YoloBox. Let me see if I can find them. Oh yes, Eric says, I noticed Aaron has a little pop-up when you click into the chat area now, prompting people to add a Q at the start of the question. I just noticed that YouTube added that feature, which is why I added it myself. It's a little setting in your YouTube community tab now, and let me see if I can find it on the screen. Yeah. Oh, I need to make my picture-in-picture layout. Make a picture-in-picture video with the computer as the main screen and the camera as the second screen, and we're going to make it a circle because I like that. And then we're going to, yes. And now I can show you what it looks like on YouTube Studio. So you can make, in the settings in the community tab, there's a channel guidelines setting. It says experiment. I don't know if that means it's open to everybody or if I'm in the experiment or whatever, but you can put up to, I think, 3 guidelines in here. So yeah, kind of cool. So that way it's easier for people to see that. And just some reminders of how we do things here. Pretty fun. But yes, and then there was a question earlier. Oh, Zach says, hello from West Palm Beach. How's everybody doing? Recorded the conference in Kansas City years ago. Nice. I'm actually, yeah, the conference I'm here for is actually at the convention center, so I'm staying pretty close by. No map today because I'm on the road. So yeah, I still haven't had time to figure out getting my map to work in the YoloBox with a web overlay feature. It kind of works, but it's the wrong size. So I can show you what happens if I do it. Because if I add it in, it will show up. Something will show up. So I've turned on the overlay feature, and if I show the comment, something is going to happen. Yeah, it's the wrong size. My web page assumes that the screen is 1920 1080, but the YoloBox web browser that renders it is not 1920 by 1080. And then here's what happens if I show the map. It's like the wrong size. So like the Google map is like way zoomed in. The header image, interestingly, is the right size. I must have used relative positioning for that. But the map is like zoomed into the center of the 0, 0 coordinates and the wrong size. So I've got some work to do on that, but then I'll be able to get the map on the YoloBox, which is exciting because I would love to be able to do that. Yeah, cool. Okay. What is Adam says, Doc Rock did a video on the YoloBox yesterday. They sent it to him to review. I recommended your channel. Thanks. Oh, did unboxing and live setup. Nice. Hopefully it went well for him. Okay, a couple questions coming in, and then we're going to chat about some things. Oh, Dylan says, the new YoloBox is awesome for Instagram and TikTok. Yeah, so the Instream streaming encoder thing, it looks kind of like YoloBox, but it is only vertical, and it actually runs the Instagram and TikTok apps. Right now, as far as I can tell, and I don't know if this is the way it's going to stay or if this is their plans, there is no way to get it into horizontal mode, and there is no way to use it for regular RTMP streaming. It is just for Instagram and TikTok. The good news is it's very easy to use for those. So it's got the little Instagram app in the corner, but then it's got all the controls like for overlays and camera switching and stuff. Very cool, specifically for that. I do not know if they're going to ever put vertical mode into the YoloBox Pro or vice versa. I kind of suspect they won't, but that's why they made a separate device for it. It is very cool. Oh, here's a question. What is the best way to live stream using a switcher while using a drone as one of your cameras? So there's two parts to this. The Pro controller that the DJI drones have, which is only works with some of the more expensive drones. It actually has an HDMI port out. And that means you could plug in HDMI into the controller itself and run that into your switcher, or do another wireless transmitter like a Hollyland transmitter from that. That's probably the best if that's an option for you. But I have the Mini drone, and apparently the Mini 3 also does not have HDMI out on the controller. I don't have the Mini 3, but the Mini 2 controller definitely doesn't have HDMI out. It doesn't even have a screen. And the only way to do it from that is then via RTMP. And you can use the DJI app on the phone that's connected to the Mini 2 controller to stream to an RTMP endpoint. And you could stream, instead of directly to YouTube, you could stream to a hardware device, which I've used a bunch before. It's called the Magewell Pro Convert. And let me find that really quick. I feel like I keep dropping this link into the channel. I should just add it to the description, since I mention it all the time. It's yeah. So the new one is called, or the current one is called NDI to let's see, Magewell Pro Convert and NDI to HDMI. It's called NDI decoder because it supports NDI, but it's not only for NDI. It can also do RTMP, RTSP, a couple other protocols. And you could stream to that. It actually is like an RTMP server inside of it. And you could stream to that from the drone app. Now, of course, there's going to be a delay. So as long as it's okay that there's a couple seconds delay, that's fine, but that's another good option, and that'll work with anything that supports RTMP, including the DJI Fly app on the phone, which I don't have the Pro Convert with me. Otherwise, I could show it to you here, but maybe I can fly around in my studio sometime when I'm back at home and have that set up. Yeah. Oh, Brian says, does the vertical YoloBox overlaying support videos in your stream? It does, actually. I didn't actually render any vertical videos yet, but it actually will play a horizontal video so that it's the right orientation also. It's just like, scaled down, super small, but it does work. And you can cut to them like the same way as like in the YoloBox Pro, where you can just cut to a playback instead of a camera. Very cool, very cool. Oh, question from earlier, which I probably can't find on the YoloBox anymore, so it's not going to be on the screen, but it'll be in the timestamps. This is Tim. With the remote guest feature of the YoloBox, I'm looking to migrate from Switcher Studio, but I can't find a setup like the YoloBox Pro Rodecaster Pro 2 over USB. Will this work? Oh, now I'm not sure what you're asking. The Rodecaster Pro 2, I don't have one, so I haven't ever tested anything with it. I have heard that it does work with the YoloBox Pro. Go ask Tom Buck. His channel is linked from a recent video of mine that I did with him. Go ask him, because he does have both Rodecasters and he has a YoloBox. So you should ask him to try it out sometime. I don't have a Rodecaster. I'm not planning on getting one, so yeah. Hopefully it does. Jim says, based on your recent coursework, is it legal to use a drone directly over people? I thought it wasn't, but I see it all the time. So, fun fact, people do things that are not allowed all the time, which is why people hate drones so much and are making all these rules. A lot of the rules are actually a lot of just common sense and common sense safety things, and some of them are in response to people doing really dumb things with them and making it dangerous to be around. And yeah, so it depends on the country. In the US, there is a way to fly drones over people, and theoretically, however, there is no way to do it right now. The reason is, let me find the page, because I'm going to get a lot of comments that I'm wrong if I don't actually show my citations here. So this is what I'm looking at. This is from the FAA, and they have a page talking about operating a drone over people. And the idea is that there is a way to do it. However, there's a bunch of limits on how to do it. So all these rules are based on the level of risk that it presents to people on the ground. So that basically means the bigger the drone, the bigger the risk, because a 50-pound drone falling from the sky can do some serious damage, but a tiny one will do less. But tiny drone, 0.55 pounds is the Mini, DJI Mini series, and the, obviously little teeny tiny ones, little toys, fall into category 1, which you can operate over people if it weighs 0.55 pounds, which also means everything attached to it, including things you may have bolted on. So here is the catch, though. Contain no exposed rotating parts. The propellers on the DJI Mini drones are not contained by default. So you have to add the prop guards in order to fall under this rule. And if you add the prop guards, it gets to be over 0.55 pounds. So it doesn't work. So you can only fly the little teeny tiny ones over people if they have prop guards. But there's more, because in addition, no one may operate aircraft in sustained flight over open air assemblies unless it's compliant with remote ID. So there's two things going on here. If you have a category 1 drone, which means small and it has prop guards, which means it's not DJI Mini 2, then you can go what they call transiting over people. So if you are going from one place to another, like across a road, and there's people in it, that's okay. But if you're going back and forth a bunch, that now counts as sustained flight. Open air assemblies also means basically dense crowds. So the only way to do it over open air assemblies is if you are compliant with remote ID, which there is no way to do right now because there are no drones that are compliant with remote ID because it doesn't exist yet, which is my last video I did. So sort of yes, but a lot of times the answer is no. If you're going to put prop guards on a Mini 2, then you fall under Category 2 because it's now bigger than 0.55 pounds, and Category 2 means, let's see, what is this? The Category 2, same remote ID over open air assemblies, and then I think that is, yeah, here they clarify. Flying back and forth over or circling above. Sustained flight does not include a brief one-time transit over the portion of the gathering where the transit is incidental, and that's also very clearly, very carefully chosen, which is unrelated to the assembly. So if you were flying over people to film them, they're not incidental to the operation, unrelated. They're now part of the operation, so that you can't do that. So basically, very, very tricky rules about when it's okay. And it looks like, now I'm questioning this, but it looks like a DJI Mini 2 with prop guards would count as a Category 2 drone, but there's no other restrictions on Category 2 drones for this purpose. So that's how you'd have to do it. Okay, now I'm going to watch all the angry comments coming in because I wasn't taking a look at them. Adam says, ever see people driving and running through stop signs, not signaling? People do as they please and disregard the rules all the time. Yeah, but it turns out the FAA has the ability to fine a lot more money than cities do for streets, so don't mess around with that for sure. Okay, the other part of the question I wanted to answer is, yesterday on the flight over here decided to look into the UK's drone rules since I will be there in November. I'll be in London for that IETF conference in November, and I want to be able to fly around there. So I started looking into the UK's rules, which are under the CAA Civil Aviation Authority in the UK. These rules are honestly very well written, very easy to read, very plain language. It's clearly meant to be understood by normal people, not lawyers, and that's wonderful. And the rules are frankly very permissive. They have the same 400-foot height limit, fine, but they give you this nice picture of showing that it's over the ground level, not absolute. And then, over people falls under this rule. Do not fly closer than 50 meters. Okay, that's actually pretty far distance. But, so don't fly within 50 meters is the default, but there's an exception for, one, people involved in what you're doing, which is actually more permissive than the FAA's version of that. They even say friends, families, or colleagues who are flying with you. But then they have the exception for small drones below 250 grams, C0 or C1 class. The classes aren't in use yet because the manufacturers aren't labeling them yet, but below 250 grams. If you're flying, then you can fly closer and you can fly over them, and there's no mention of prop guards. So obviously don't do anything stupid, but it looks like absolutely it's okay to fly over people in the UK with a tiny drone, including the DJI Mini 2 and 3. So that's really interesting. But don't fly over crowds. So they give a bunch of examples of crowds, like crowded beaches or parties or whatever, which is, again, very reasonable. But then, again, there's also the 150 meters away from residential, recreational, commercial, and industrial areas, which it turns out is a lot of things, except they do allow that for small drones. So their examples of these different areas are things like parks, cities, villages, factories, docks, basically anything other than landscapes. So, but if it is a small drone below 250 grams, then you can. So that's actually super cool. Like, it seems like you can bring a DJI Mini 2 to the UK and fly around most places, including going over people, which is great. Of course, making sure you're staying away from airports still. So, yeah, super nice. Oh, Adam, thank you for clarifying. I'm not saying you should disregard the rules, just people these days do as they please, yes. Okay, a couple other comments. Oh, people are commenting about the Rodecaster, wonderful. I have the YoloBox Pro and the Mini. I've used the Rodecaster Pro 2 with the YoloBox Pro and it works very well. Excellent, love to hear it. Thank you for confirming. And I think somebody else mentioned that too. Monty Weaver also, oh hey, good to see you here. We did a little live stream together earlier. The Rodecaster Pro 2 does work with the YoloBox. I use it set up all the time. Wonderful. Wonderful. Uh-oh, Graham says, I think you just talked me into getting a drone. Yeah, that tends to happen. Okay, so here's one thing I have not been able to find out yet. So I went through the CAA's website to be able to fly, and in the UK, and they have a bunch of. You do have to register. So they have a thing about like getting the flyer ID and operator ID, and the operator ID is for, now I can't remember. I think that was for every drone, but the flyer ID you don't need if you're flying the small drones, but I couldn't find a way to only get an operator ID, so I ended up getting both. But I did the test on the plane yesterday, and it was basically, if you read through the whole website, then you take the test. It's just questions about what you just read, so it's not that hard. And you take the test, you pay £10, and you get the operator ID costs £10. Flyer ID does not cost anything. So you can only get the flyer ID if you are flying somebody else's drone. But if you're going to be registering a drone, you need the operator ID. So I now have that, and I can fly in the UK now for a year. So that's cool. But in the process of reading through that, there was no mention of remote ID at all in any of it. So nothing about remote ID coming soon or any current rules. And I have not been able to find any information about the UK implementing remote ID. They're not in the EU anymore, and the EU is going to have a bunch of rules about remote ID, but but I haven't seen any mention of whether UK is going to be implementing that. So if anybody in the UK knows or has heard what's going on about that, let me know. Comment below or put something in the chat, because I would like to read more about that. It seems like the EU's version of remote ID is going to end up being very similar rules to the US. There's a standards rule, a standards org in the EU that is working on remote ID, and they actually got together with the ASTM, which is the US org that's standardizing it, and they're working on making the rules, making the regulations and the protocols line up better so that people don't have to buy different drones for different regions. So, yeah. Oh, Tom says, if I'm not mistaken, the rule of remote ID is becoming active this autumn, at least in Europe. Yeah, in Europe, in the EU, they have a very similar path to remote ID as the US does. But I think the timeline is pushed out farther than the US one. But I haven't been able to find anything about the UK. So, yeah. David is reminding people to, if your like button is transparent, please click it to make it solid. Thank you, David. Yes, please do. Give us a thumbs up. Oh, Carl says, do you travel with a Lithium Pro battery bag? I don't. But the biggest battery I have is the limit for the carry-on, which is this one. This is like the 26,800 milliamp hours, and it's got USB ports on the USB-C and 2 USB-As. This charges so many things. I can charge. I don't actually have it connected right now to the YoloBox, but sometimes I power the YoloBox from it. Powers my phone a bunch of times. But that's the biggest you can take on as carry-on. And I don't check bags. I've been avoiding checking bags forever, especially now. And if you do check bags, you can't put batteries, spare batteries in your check bags. So it ends up being fine because I just put them all into my carry-on. If I do have to do the gate check thing, then I have to take that one out of the larger bag and put it in my backpack. But I don't have any other bigger batteries than that, so haven't worried about bringing a special bag. Graham says, I have the impression that the post-Brexit UK government wants to do everything its own way. Yeah, fair. We'll see how they handle remote ID. They may just not ever mention it, too. Glad you said about the battery. I didn't realize there was a size limit. I think it's, the FAA mentions it. I don't know about the other regulatory bodies that mention it, but there is a size limit for it. As far as I can tell, the reason that there's a size limit is because there are these fireproof battery bags that can basically contain a battery if it catches on fire and starts burning, because there's a certain amount of material in the battery that will burn for a certain amount of time at a certain temperature based on the chemistry of the batteries. And basically what it means is that you can get these bags that are rated to be able to contain up to a certain amount of energy. And they have those on the airplanes. And if you had a battery that was bigger than that capacity, eventually it would burn through the bag, and then that would be bad. So if a battery does catch on fire on a plane, then they're able to put it in a bag and contain it. So, did the stream just die? I don't think so. Everything looks fine here. Does it matter what size drone you have for it to be for commercial purposes or the purpose of the drone footage? Depends on the country. Depends on the country. Actually, I've only seen the US actually. Oh no, okay. US seems to care most about commercial versus non-commercial use of drones. And if you are doing commercial, if you're flying for commercial purposes, it does not matter in the US what size drone it is. You are automatically in the commercial rules, and that includes registering the drone. So the DJI Mini 2, if you're flying recreationally, because it's so small, you don't need to register in the US for recreational drone flying. If you're flying it commercially, that drone does need to be registered. It's only $5, not a big deal, just do it. Other countries are different. So in the UK, they don't distinguish between commercial and non-commercial, except for the requirement of insurance. If you're flying commercially, then you do have to have insurance for the drone. I've seen that in a couple other countries as well. I'm guessing the EU is probably going to end up, because they're trying to standardize everything across the EU, I'm guessing that will be part of the EU's rules as well, because it was a bunch of the EU countries that had a similar requirement, where the only distinction between commercial and non-commercial is whether you have to have insurance. So I haven't seen any mentions about sizes of drones in relation to commercial and non-commercial. Now I can't remember Australia because I just started looking into it yesterday, and that was towards the end of the flight, so I was getting pretty tired already. So I don't remember Australia's, but I do remember New Zealand did not care either. How is it regulated? How will they know? Yeah, I mean, like a lot of things, it's not a problem until it's a problem, right? So like if something bad happens and you don't have insurance and you were flying commercially, like if you crash your drone into someone's car and break their windshield or hurt someone from it, then and if you didn't have insurance, then you're on the hook for all the damages. And if you were flying commercially, then you can also get potentially fined by whatever aviation authority is managing the area. So you don't want to mess around with that, because it's like if something bad happens, it'll get way, way worse if you're not following the rules right. If something bad happens and you were following the rules, it's bad, obviously, but the rules are there to protect the situation and, you know, make it be less bad. So, remote ID is an attempt to actually bake some of those regulations into the hardware so that you can't not do it. Once all commercial drones have remote ID in it, then obviously it's going to be a lot harder to fly without remote ID and like break the rule. It'll be, I'm sure, a couple of years of people people using older drones that don't have remote ID still, but you know, breaking the rules because they're older drones. Probably not even realizing it, frankly. But once all commercial drones have it in it, it's going to be hard to not fly with remote ID. And that it looks like it's going to get rolled out across the whole world. So it's just going to be a thing. Whether or not you like it. And yeah, Carl says the FAA has people whose job it is to scan social media accounts. That is also true. I've definitely heard about this, and especially during COVID when everybody's working from home, the FAA employees were also working from home, and we're just going around social media looking for people breaking rules. Because it turns out there are some rules that are very easy to tell if you're breaking them just by looking at the footage. So it's, yeah, it's very easy to tell, like right now, for example, because there is no way to get a drone with remote ID if you fly over a large assembly of people. It's obviously you're breaking the rule because you can't be following it yet because there isn't the technology to be able to follow it. So stuff like that. Yeah. Jim says the photography is great. Have you ever crashed a drone? Still have not crashed a drone yet. Crossing my fingers. I have, I've only bought one drone so far. I had DJI Mini 2 and I have not yet crashed it. I have not even replaced the propellers on it. So that is, yeah, hopefully it stays that way. I've been doing very conservative flying with it, I think, is the reason. I'm not like flying around power lines or trying to get too close to buildings and stuff. Probably the most risky thing I've done with it, I think, was in Iceland, flying in that wind by the waterfall. The wind was really, really, really strong, and the drone held up way better than I thought it was going to. There was a point where it was like very clear that it was struggling to move against the wind and come back. I was worried I wasn't able to get it back, but it did it. It made it, and that's probably the closest I got to ever like losing control of it. Thankfully, there was literally nobody around, so at least if it crashed, it would just crash into the water or whatever. But yeah. Cool. Oh, Tom says, in Norway, I had to take a written test to get permission from the authorities. I have to have insurance to keep the authorization, and there are different certificates for different weights. Oh, yeah, I remember, because I was in Norway a couple months ago. I remember looking into this and realizing that it was going to be too complicated for me to get that for flying in Norway. I think the reason was because I looked at it too late and I couldn't get insurance in time. That's what it was. Actually, it was before I had the Part 107 license, and in the US, I wasn't able to find any insurance providers that would give me insurance if I wasn't licensed. So like technically anybody could insure a drone pilot even if they don't have a Part 107 license, but I think no one wants to because of the risk, because they're obviously higher risk. So now that I have the license, I need to go back to that insurance provider and follow up with that. It's only like, it was like $500 or $600 a year, which is not that bad. Then I'll look back into Norway if I ever go back. But I do remember I couldn't fly in Norway because of the insurance requirement. Okay, oh, super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Where did it go? There it is. The comment's still not showing up on the YoloBox, sorry. The comment is, thanks, I do a show where I need the audio to come back into the mixer. Sorry to hijack the drone video. Didn't you? Oh, this was a follow-up question. The comment from earlier, Tim, with the remote guest feature of the YoloBox looking to migrate Switcher Studio, can't find a setup like the YoloBox Pro. You do a show where you need the audio to come back into the mixer. Okay, so I see. So if you're doing a remote guest, right? If you bring a remote guest into the YoloBox is mixing the audio. There's a headphone jack, but that's just for the main program audio. There isn't a way right now to send only the guest's audio out of the YoloBox anywhere. So that's missing, which I think you would probably need if you're trying to mix all your audio in a separate device. So it's not really going to help you there. This is the classic mix minus problem, and I keep asking various people to make devices for this, and it doesn't end up happening. Hopefully YoloBox can do this, because I think it would be really useful. Obviously we don't have the right ports on here. We only have a headphone jack out on this. But what I would like to be able to do, for example, is have a device that is just for the remote guest feature, where it's basically only the remote guest part, where you send them that link to join on the website, their video pops up on the little screen, and then their video goes out HDMI, and their audio goes out HDMI, and maybe a separate audio out to run into a mixer. But it's just for remote guests, and you can bring it into other video switchers too. That would be very, very cool. So you could use it with the YoloBox Pro, run that HDMI into the YoloBox, for example, or run it into your ATEM. And I think Yololiv would be a good one to make that device, because they have basically everything else about it works the way I want it to. But yeah, the audio situation is, the YoloBox is meant to do everything in here. So you're meant to mix the whole show in the YoloBox. I'm pointing at it at my desk here. You can barely see it, but that's what's running this show right now. So thank you for the super chat, and hopefully that is helpful. Do email YoloBox with your feature requests, though, because they will, they do listen, and they will build things that people want. David says, quick aside, speaking of, are you using the YoloBox now? It seems like it's only showing 3 lines of the comments. Yeah, it is not showing the full text of the long ones. So, keep your questions short, which is also generally helpful, because then it's easier for me to read them. Can you resize the text of the comments? I think we looked at this a while ago, and the answer is no. There is a setting here, though. Let me see if I can get my other camera out so I can show you. I didn't actually plug it in yet, because it's in the way otherwise. Get this on, and then I can show you the YoloBox with, oh, come on. There we go. Okay. Let me make sure the audio is still, yeah. So here's the comments. Can you resize the text? There is this little setting up here for settings of the comments. Right, okay, there's no, you get layout options, but you don't get resizing. So you get to choose the style, and then you get to choose the font. You can scale the whole thing, but you can't change the font size. I remember that now. We looked at that a while ago. Let me go back to this one. And yeah. Oh yeah, the auto hide. I forgot they added that. And now you can make it automatically hide comments after some time. That's nice. Let's do that. So I think that would be a nice feature. We'll see if they can add that. And now I don't, this hotel room is just very strangely shaped, and I don't have enough of a surface here to put all the things I need. Is that gonna work? It looks a little weird, but I guess it technically works. Oh, here's a good question. What drone flying technique are you currently working on to get better at? I have been trying to do the, oops, speaking of, yeah, I forgot I had auto hide on. And I do have drone footage to show you. I will show you that right now while we're talking about it. What I've been trying to do is get better at the rotating the drone while focusing on one object. So you have to move to the right, and like if you're moving to the right, you have to also rotate the drone as well as moving. So you have to do both sticks at the same time, and you have to do it at a consistent rate, otherwise it looks all jerky. So it looks really cool when you do it, especially if you're going around an object, right? It's like if you're trying to do this, because if you just go sideways, it's going to stay, it's like a panning, which looks okay, but not nearly as interesting as this kind of thing. So that's what I'm trying to get better at, and it's tricky. Definitely tricky. Christopher, does that mean you've never been to a hotel that doesn't even have a desk or table? There is this little table here, but it's round, so it's like it doesn't have corners. But yeah, let me show you the drone footage that I got from Kansas City so far. I will caveat this is not my best work, mainly because I got in on the plane yesterday at, what was I landed at like 6:30 p.m. or something, and sunset was at 8:30. By the time I got to the hotel and checked in, dropped off my bags, and then got on a scooter to ride out, I only had about 15 minutes, so I only was able to get to one place last night before the sun went down. And so I only got like a couple of shots there. And then I went this morning, and this morning before this stream, went out to a different place. I couldn't get very far on the scooters. Also, the airspace here is very, very crowded because there's an airport. Let me show you how restricted this is. People should just stop building airports downtown. Look at this. There's all these, this is what you have to do if you're within an airport and you want to get authorization to fly. You have to go to this app and then request permission. And see those little numbers? The numbers are how high you are able to request permission. So there's a bunch of zeros around the airport, which means you are not able to fly. You're not even able to request permission through this app to fly at all in the zero boxes. Then there's a couple of 50s. Oh, the one that's right next to me, you can't, there's no number. Where's the number? There it is. The one right next to me is a 50. And I basically, I'm on that line between the 50 and the 200. And I went down that street this morning. And on the 50 side, it turns out 50 meters is not very high. And so I went to the other side, I went to the 200 side and flew a little higher over there. But you can see how much of the city is just taken up because of this stupid airport that's right there. It like covers, so much of it is just covered by the airport. So you're really limited in terms of where you can fly around here. So not my best work, very rushed, but we'll roll the footage anyway. There you go. A couple of fun shots around town. Yeah, it was fun. I was mostly flying around parking lots. So the going and finding, I went out kind of early this morning. So it's Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Not a lot of people are out. This seems to be a party town. There was a lot of activity in the hotel until very late last night, which means not a lot of activity in the morning. So the streets were very quiet. And there's a whole bunch of just huge empty parking lots and empty lots. So I was finding those areas and then going just either straight up and down or back and forth across the parking lot for the pan shots. was really trying to not fly over traffic because I don't have prop guards on the drone, so trying to not fly over cars or people. Yeah. Thanks for all the comments. I like it, especially the vertical moves. Yeah, that was. If you speed those up too, they look kind of fun. So it makes it look like you're going a lot faster than you actually are. Vertical elevator moves are always dramatic. Thanks. You used the rocket shot for one of the last shots. Actually, that was manual. That was, and I reversed it because that was actually when I was done. So I was landing the drone, and I brought it straight above me because I can fly over me. I brought it straight above me and then tilted the camera down and then just went and dropped. And I was like, oh, that's actually kind of a cool shot. So I reversed it in the timeline and then used a speed ramp to go zoom. So it looked like I went up. But if you look closely, there's somebody walking backwards on the side of the frame. Yeah. Uh-oh. Hello? I don't know why someone's trying to come into the hotel room. What happens if someone walks beneath the drone? Can you still use the footage? I don't know how that works exactly. You're not supposed to fly it anywhere where someone could walk underneath. Otherwise, you're flying over people. So I think that's the as to whether you can use the footage, I don't know. Like, do you want to advertise that you flew over somebody? Probably not. Is it technically allowed? I don't know the answer. Graham says, is that the FAA at the door? Oh no, they're on to me. Try to edit the sensitivity of the stick movement. It can be smoother after. So yeah, I usually do this in the cine mode, which is the slowest mode, unless I'm trying to get somewhere. So I'll go into normal mode if I'm trying to like go up really fast just to get into position, but then I'll go back into cine mode to actually do the moves. But yeah, I haven't actually tweaked the sensitivity further beyond that. Malin says you are much steadier on the stick. Great progress. Thanks. Yeah, working on it. Also, the wind, it turns out, affects it a lot. Okay. I don't know why. I'm going to roll this again and go answer the door. All right, so you can also see that there's one more feature request I have for the YoloBox video playback feature, which is that I want it to be able to auto cut after the video is done, so that it doesn't loop back around. Feature request. Okay, so now maybe you saw the people walking backwards. If the video is looping, it was the police. Thank you. One moment while we enjoy that beautiful drone footage, we'll see who's at the door. The guy that knocked on the door came back to knock on the door again to apologize for knocking on the door. So nice of him to apologize, but I guess maybe a little bit unnecessary? Yeah. Frankie says, the drone footage is perfect for the start of a 70s TV cop show, just the clip of you with a mustache running up the street and sliding over a car hood. There we go. That'll be the next thing I try. Okay. So that was fun. Where was I? I'm totally distracted now. Oh, good question from Jim says Midwestern hospitality. Yes, I think that's accurate. A question from earlier about about the remote guest feature. Um, I don't know if I can find it on the YoloBox. I'm looking at comments in two places, one of which makes it easier to manage. From Rick. Nope, I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Can't you use an HDMI audio extractor prior to the switcher and feed the audio into your soundboard? I do this already. That would work if your video source is external. So if you're using the YoloBox remote guest feature, though, it's already inside the YoloBox, so there's no HDMI audio to extract. But yeah, that's the problem with that one. Oh, here's the comment that's right next to that one while I'm here. Is it easy to use the YOLO with Restream? Totally, yeah. Oh, and Tom, thank you for the super chat. I just found your comment. Thanks for the super chat again. Yes, it is very easy to use Restream with YoloBox. Use the RTMP feature. So here, I can kind of show you how it works here. When you are setting up your destinations to stream to, which is this one, you can add RTMP endpoints. So you go in here, RTMP. The way this works is actually, it's kind of neat. It actually emails you a link so that you can enter it on your computer, which is nicer than trying to type in a super long RTMP stream here. So do that, and then it shows up just as one of these other destinations. So these have icons because they're like platforms, which is what I'm using for YouTube, but these are the RTMP ones, so they're just generic. That one goes to my studio. One that is on, that goes to my test website. I was using this with LightStream a while ago. So yeah, it'll show up like that. 16-foot tall ceiling, 5-foot wide desk. Yes. Did I order an ATEM SDI yet? Any word on your 4ME? From Chris. I did. I did, in fact, order the ATEM SDI from DVE Store. They have them in stock right now. They sent it very, very quickly. So it came, I think, the next day. So awesome. It's very nice being so close to the DVE Store. They're up in Washington, and I'm down in Portland. And yes, it came the day before I left, so I barely had time to do anything with it. I mostly just set it up to do a photo shoot and post it on Instagram. I wanted to know for sure if it was going to work in the PK1 cage stand for the desk. And the answer is yes, it does. It fits. It is the same size as the original ATEM Minis, which is good. I was assuming it was, but wanted to double check. It fits and it looks great. So there you have it. Now we know. So that came, and I'm going to, once I get back from this trip, I'll be in town for a few weeks in a row, finally, and that is going to be 4 outputs from the, well, I have the 2ME right now on loan from DVE Store, but once I get the 4ME, I'll be replacing it with that. But I'm going to run 4 outputs SDI into the ISO. And yes, Brian, I did get the SDI ISO model, not the regular one, because the whole point, the reason I got it is because I want to use it as an ISO recorder. And I'll run the 4 outputs of the big switcher into that to be able to record 4 arbitrary sources, which is how I would be recording most of my videos. Okay, oh my gosh. I'm trying to figure out where I was in the comments. There I was. I believe I've heard that move called Orbit. That makes sense. Yep. I should probably learn the names of these. Chris says, I ended up mastering that with my Mini 2, but now with the Mini 3, it has a feature to do it easily. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah. David says, would your setup benefit from, oh, this is going to cut off. Would your, where did it go? I need it in the other one. Oh my gosh. I lost it. It's too much chat. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. There it is. David, would your setup benefit from a Windows 10 computer that has an internal SIM card? I use my ThinkPad X1 tablet Gen 2 and modular attachments akin to another YoloBox. Interesting. I didn't realize there were any computers with SIM cards in it. If you're comfortable and happy streaming from like OBS or vMix, then yes, obviously that's great. Plus, you need capture cards still. I don't like that because of how much additional stuff it takes, and because I don't like using OBS, frankly. So I like it in the YoloBox. So no, I'm not going to get a laptop with a SIM card. Graham says, can you fix the drone on that big selfie stick you recently used in a conference hall? I am going to go around the conference hall with the Insta360, probably the new 1-inch one, which I just got just before coming here. I decided to go for it and get the big Insta360 with the 1-inch sensor. It is a lot better quality. So I'm gonna do some fun videos around the conference hall with that. Probably do the speed through style. Okay, catching back up again. Oh, Adam says, what was that odd shaped building? Some kind of arena. I think that is the convention center. I want to try to get closer to it, but I think it's in the 50-foot limit area, which it looks a lot taller than 50 feet. So I don't know how high I'll be able to go around it, but I'll try, because I think that's where I'm going to be going tomorrow, or probably today, actually. Setting up the booth today. Oh my gosh, where was I? Truly Seinfeld moment, Midwest double knock. Is Yololiv going to give us the capability to have a running timestamp overlay? That doesn't seem out of the realm of possibility. I don't think anybody's requested it before. So I am curious, just like a clock, is that the idea? You could do it with a web overlay right now. I actually think I have that set up already, because I did it for the bike stream. And I think if I turn this on, it'll show you the time in the corner. Oh, you can see that the size is wrong again, because I didn't fix the size, but yeah. Can you connect a keyboard to the YoloBox? Yes, you can. I've done it before. It does help typing in captions. If you're doing a lot of typing of lower thirds, I would recommend it, because it'll let you type things much, much faster that way. Oh, here's an interesting comment on this. Regarding somebody walking beneath the drone, I think you can still use it because the rule is no sustained flight over people. No sustained flight over open air assemblies was the rule. Sustained flight over people, it sounds like, is then possible if your drone has prop guards, because it still needs prop guards. But I think I haven't seen a lot of mentions about what happens if you accidentally break a rule, but you were filming, right? Because like, you broke the rule, whether or not you were filming, the rule was broken. So if you're filming and you broke a rule unintentionally, the fact that you were filming it doesn't change that. So I don't think it invalidates the footage, it just means that you broke a rule, and now you can prove it. So yeah, weird gray area there. I guess the one rule that you can easily break by filming is the commercial use, obviously, but that's a different story. On the SDI Extreme, are the BNC are close to the top rail, making it difficult to plug and unplug? I didn't seem to have any trouble getting the cables connected. So when I was doing that, when I was trying this out, you can see there's, where's the comment's going to go away. There it goes. There is still larger than a finger's width between here and here. So I didn't have any trouble getting my finger in there to turn the cable. But it's true that you do have to do it differently than the HDMI. I think it's actually easier because the ports actually kind of stick out farther than the HDMI ones. So you have to get in deeper when you're plugging in the HDMI cable. I'll try to get a video about that better. David says, I actually leave my YoloBox Pro connected at my home office, connected to 2 Windows, 10 PCs, HDMI, displaying streams, running the DJI Pocket 2 Mini 3 Pro. Whoa, that's cool. Yeah. So that is actually a great example of what I would use the Magewell Pro Convert for. Because the Magewell Pro Convert means it's a small box and it's not a full computer, so it's a lot less fiddly. And that will receive the RTMP feed and output over HDMI. So you might want to take a look at that because it might simplify things and not have to deal with as many computers. Yes, the topic is fuzzy at this point. Oh yeah, this is a great point. The automatic switching capability newly added on the Pro is key to automating the YoloBox Pro from the road. You can do a real on-scene stream. That's a cool idea, yeah. Just have it like in the studio where you're pushing 2 remote feeds to it, switching back and forth. I wonder if I could do something like that from here at some point. Oh, Randy says there's less room on the Extreme. I ordered a tool to help. Well, I think different finger widths will also be a different factor, and my fingers are pretty small, so I may not have trouble with it, but other people with bigger fingers might. And that's true. I didn't get the Extreme ISO SDI thing, so I only tried it with the Small Pro. But you're right. It is tighter on the Extreme. Graham says, what is over? If it has to be exactly above a person, then a tiny bit over to the side won't be over. This is another one of those things where, as far as I can tell, there isn't actually an exact definition. But I've seen a couple of things mentioned, and now I don't remember which country's rules these were mentioned in. I should get this out of the way. This looks silly. The rules are all written about flying over people, but I do remember seeing one thing from someone's rules somewhere, I don't remember what country it was, which was about keeping in mind the fact that your drone is moving. It has horizontal velocity. So if you are directly over somebody, but you're going like this, sorry, let me say it differently. If someone's standing here and you're flying not over them, but you're flying towards them, and then if your drone suddenly loses power, it still has velocity in this direction, so it will continue to go that direction. It's not going to drop straight down, obviously. It's going to go like this and curve down. So it could hit them even though you were not technically over them. I think Brian has a good definition here. If it falls and hits somebody, it was over them. Yes. So, like, you have to be, the whole point of the rule is so that you don't, if the drone suddenly loses power or was hit by something in the air and it crashes, that you're not going to land on people. Like, if a bird runs into your drone, it will probably just immediately stop flying and come crashing down. So I think that is the spirit, which you should probably follow more than the literal definition of over. But okay, so there was one example of this in the video that I just showed you, which was at the memorial, the way that place is set up, there's, let me see if I can pull it up on a map. I think actually will, yeah, okay. So the memorial, the actual like, the tower is right there, right? And if you look at, so I was sitting about here on the little bench, and there is this little street. Let's actually go to the satellite. Yeah, so I was sitting on that spot, actually, down below the concrete. The tower was there, and I was basically going back and forth between here and here. And this strip between the two streets, I felt like was actually really, really wide. So I was using this to go back and forth here. And I wasn't going this direction at all because I didn't want to go over these roads. And there also were not that many cars out. It was not busy. But I was using that strip because I felt like that was safe enough where I was over that strip going back and forth like that. And that I felt like that was close enough or far enough away from the cars that I wasn't technically over them. Is there room for interpretation on that? Probably. I felt like it was safe, and I was certainly not, by any literal definition of over, it was not over any cars. Sometimes cars would go around that loop, and I just made sure I wasn't going, transiting over there at that time. So, yeah. Tom says, in Norway, we are also prohibited from flying above national nature parks, and there are a number of areas, particularly for birds. Yeah, totally. I've seen a lot of those as well. There in the U.S. we have that too, but there are fewer areas that are limited because of that rule. They're like just the really big national parks and national forests. That parking lot looks great for RC drag racing. That's something I haven't done since I was a kid, is remote control cars. I think quadcopters are more fun. Oh, here's one from earlier that I missed. I would like a, where did it go? I would like a hardware-only setup. There it is. I would like a hardware-only setup to include a remote guest into a video stream. Is there any alternative to the Blackmagic streaming bridge? I also want this. The streaming bridge only works from an ATEM, so it can only receive the ATEM's RTMP feed, which means your remote guest has to have an ATEM. So that's a concern. There is an alternative to that, which is the Magewell Pro Convert, which can receive any RTMP stream from anything. So you can stream to it from, this is the Pro Convert link again. That lets you receive any RTMP feed. So you can stream from an Insta360 camera or a DJI Fly app or the DJI Pocket 2, that kind of stuff, right? Or from cameras that have RTMP built in now, like the GH5 II. That doesn't necessarily also solve the problem because your guest needs some sort of streaming encoder at that end. And you still need a link back. So you can like tell them push an RTMP feed to this URL, but how are they going to see you or see the program feed? That's why I think what YoloBox did with the new guest feature is super, super cool, because it works exactly like you would want it to. You go into the YoloBox, you say, send an invite link, your guest joins in a browser, they choose what webcam they're using from their browser, they then see the program feed in their browser from the YoloBox. So it's got the two-way link, and it does the audio mixing correctly, where it brings in their isolated audio, and then they hear the program audio minus them. So it works great. That's built into the YoloBox Pro. But I want that feature as a standalone device. I want just the remote guest feature in a tiny box. Think like a device the size of the YoloBox Mini, where it does only that. And that way I could use it with bigger studio switchers. I want to use that in the studio, for example. I want two of those, bring in two remote guests, mix them into the ATEM, and then send the program feed back out to them in the browser. I think that would be very, very cool. If you think that would be very cool, also comment below or say something in the chat, because the more people that want something like that, the more likely Yololiv is to build it. And I think Yololiv is so very close to having that just like ready to go with maybe even just different software in the YoloBox Mini. It's like Everything is just right there. It's just so close. Sheridan says we are two that want the device. Maybe our critical mass. Yeah. A remote guest box like that would be great for my work, where we sometimes want to have a single remote speaker. Totally. Yeah. Like if you're working in a full broadcast studio where you have your regular studio setup with your regular gear, you're obviously not going to go and get a YoloBox Pro and mix your entire show in that. Not going to happen. I don't think it doesn't make sense, and I don't think you should. So a dedicated remote guest box would be so nice to be able to just insert. You can do it with a computer right now. Like you can use video.ninja, pull up that in a full screen browser tab. It's fine. It's not ideal. And I would like it to just be even easier. Oh, good. One more here at the very least. So good. We now have 3 or 4 people who want this. So if you also want it, comment below, because maybe we can convince Yololiv to build it. How many remote guests does it support? I haven't pushed this to the limit yet. I think I've seen, where is this? There is on the YoloBox, now I need this camera back. I really wish I had just a little bit more space on this table. Or like one more, maybe if I brought one more tripod, I could have put this camera back here or something. Anyway, on this feature, when you do invite guests, it says you can invite up to 5 people. I think that means you can have 5 people, which is honestly pretty impressive. I don't know if that means you can put all 5 on the screen at once or not, because I haven't pushed that to its limit yet. But that is promising. If I had a chair right there, I could just set this down. David says, get a good pair of Wi-Fi camera glasses and connect it to your iPhone, and connect the iPhone to the YoloBox Mini. What? Oh no, let's try it. I don't know if I want to push my luck here. How are we doing on time? Oh, we're almost at the end of the hour and a half anyway. I like how this has just turned into a 90-minute show. Oh, here's a good question. Where did it go? From Tom. You are covering a full-day event in a shop, 3 cameras, chat. You bring the YoloBox or the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. 3 cameras and chat all day. Let me think. If you're going to bring the ATEM, then you will need also something to render the chat, which I know some people have had good luck with the Fire TV Stick 4K because it has a web browser in it. I still haven't tested that myself. So you need that, which is going to eat up one of your HDMIs. 3 guests, so you could bring the small 4 input. What else? Then you need power for the ATEM and for the Fire TV, and obviously your cameras. Which one would I rather use for that? Huh. You know what? If it is a full day, I may actually go with the ATEM, and here's why. Because the amount of setup time it'll take is going to be longer with the ATEM. That's just generally true, and you need more stuff. Like you have to use a computer to control it or an iPad with mix effect. Setup time will be longer, but if the setup time is longer and you're doing an event for the full day, it costs less percentage-wise, right? Like one of the most frustrating things for me was I don't like having to spend an hour setting up for an hour-long show, because then half your time is spent setting up. Actually, worse than that, because teardown is usually longer also. So for like a 1 hour long program, I would rather have a smaller, faster setup time. But once I am going for a full day long thing, I don't mind spending an hour setting up for an 8-hour show. So I may do that. I may actually do that. Huh, interesting thought experiment. Oh, one more remote guest box vote. Excellent. Have I used the new Chromecast for overlays? I didn't know there was a new Chromecast. Nope, have not. I have used the old Chromecast for overlays, and it works okay. There's definitely some, it's not super fast frame rate for rendering web pages like that. You'll notice that the chat is a little bit jittery when it slides up, but it's okay. The big difference between the Chromecast and like the Fire TV or something else like that is the Chromecast isn't a standalone device. You have to be pushing to it from a computer. So you bring up a tab on a computer, you share that tab into the Chromecast. It does work, but that's the big difference. Whereas the Fire TV, you can just, it is a web browser. It has a web browser inside of it. So it doesn't need a standalone computer. Chromecast with TV, it's one with remote. Yeah, I haven't looked at this. Does the YoloBox Pro record separate audio and video of each guest? No, there is no ISO recording in the YoloBox. So if you're using the recording feature, it's recording what is being streamed. A new excuse for a collab with Joseph, Petra, John to test how many remotes it can take. That might be the way to do it. I'm a little bit scared to do it totally unprepared right now, so I don't think I want to go there. But we can do that later once I have things a little bit back to normal. Because also if it like crashes the YoloBox, I'm out of luck right now. So, okay. I am. Oh, thanks, Heather. Great pullback shot of the Liberty Memorial. She was the one that told me to go there, so thanks for the tip. I think we are about wrapped up here. Was there anything else I wanted to cover today? There was. What was it? Oh, I wanted to show you the 360 webcam. The Insta360. Maybe we can take a look at that in a second. Another vote for remote guests. Good. Okay, there is clearly demand for this. So, Yololiv, if you are listening, please make me a little box that has just the remote guest feature in the YoloBox Pro. That is what I want. I want tiny box, YoloBox Mini, HDMI in, HDMI out, audio in, audio out. When a guest joins, then I see them on the screen, and their guest's video goes out the HDMI port only with their audio, and the input on the device is sent into their browser window, so they see it. And then I can integrate that into a studio rig. So, oh, David, this is a tough question. This is an impossible question, actually. What is the best all-around camera for shooting video? Sony RX10? RX10 Mark IV? I don't even know what the RX10 is. I like cinema cameras, but a video camera has to be able to power zoom. I don't know if there is a best all-around camera for shooting video. I really like the Lumix cameras. Big fan of those. I don't have any need for power zoom. I don't mind turning the thing myself. So actually, I think I prefer to turn the lens myself to zoom, because frankly, the power zoom on the Sony ZV-E10 that I'm using here frustrates me more often than not because I bump the zoom wheel. But I think there's too many variables about different how you're using it, where you're using it, to have a good one recommendation. I do really like my GH5 Mark II. We'll just say that. You know what I didn't do? I did not set up the redirect to Lily's stream today. So let's do that right now before we leave. Since we are about to, yeah, Lily today is going to be talking about, in like 9 minutes, talking about the recession. So I'm going to set this up to redirect to her stream when this is done, and we can all go over hang out there. I will probably hang out and while I'm eating lunch, because it is now lunchtime here and I am officially hungry. And okay, cool. The redirect is set up. I'm going to drop her channel, her video link in here as well. So that is where we'll be going after and having a nice chat about the recession. Excellent thumbnail. GDP down, recession is here. Love it. Okay. But that is still not for 8 minutes. So what can I do for 8 minutes? Oh yeah, I was going to show you this. So this, it turns out, have I ever done a YouTube raid? That is what we're doing. That is what we're doing right now. You're going to see how it works. It's actually kind of cool. Oh, I still have coffee. Coffee number 3. No, what I wanted to do is show you this camera, because this turns out Insta360 webcam mode does actually work with the YoloBox Pro, which is cool and weird. So you have to go into the Insta360 first and turn it into webcam mode when it's connected over USB. Otherwise, it'll show up as like a drive, and we don't want that. And well, you're about to see it again, because that's happening. Okay, so plugged in over USB into the YoloBox, and this is what it looks like. It does the split view thing, where it's like showing me, all the way around the camera. We want a 360 of your oddly shaped hotel room. You know what? I can do that because I think I can do that. Oh, I have to change the audio because I'm using the audio from the wired camera. But hey, let's do it while we're here. Unplug the computer, unplug the second camera, because this is on battery, and I just have to change the audio that you're hearing. I don't know if we get audio over USB. Let's find out. Can you hear me? I see it moving. Hopefully it sounds okay. So I'm sure it sounds horribly different, but what this means is I can unplug the HDMI camera, and now I can walk around with this slightly ridiculous rig with the USB camera plugged in. Okay, here we go. Weird hotel room. This is the bed area, and then we go over here, and then let's see if it adapts to the low light over here. There is this is the door. Oh my gosh, this is not working. It's too dark. It's too unevenly exposed. Okay, backing up into the corner. So this is what you get when you walk in. It's a box I had shipped here for the conference. The bathroom is over there. This is backwards. Yeah, it's like flipped. Weird. Bed area. And then you go into this little area here, and this is the little corner I'm streaming from. And if you look up, there's the window, way up there, way up there. So weird, such a weird little corner. I don't even know if it makes any sense in this 360 mode. It's definitely confusing me. Yeah. Let's put that back down. It's kind of like a one-bedroom. It is kind of like a one-bedroom, in fact. Okay, let's put that HDMI camera back on and change the audio back. Is it the same layout as a prison cell? Good question. Interesting vibe with the Insta360. Yeah. Why is the camera not coming back? Come on. The HDMI is not negotiating properly. Good thing we're almost done with this nonsense of a stream. The camera is on, right? Yeah, okay. Sometimes the camera turns off. It sounds acceptable, much noisier. I guess we are going to leave it there. Yeah, I don't see any options for the webcam either, so we're just stuck with this. Unless, can I push the record button? That other camera I used had different modes. It's 360, but this does not seem to. You could attach your DJI mic with an adapter, just mono. I could, but it's attached to my camera right now. I didn't want to do that. Also, I don't have the adapter here. Is that a USB adapter? Actually, I don't see any ports on here, so I don't see how to do that. And I'm using the USB out for the webcam, so it may not work. A few years ago, devices like this didn't exist. I know, it is amazing how far things have come. So it is very cool. It is fun to be able to use USB webcams with the YoloBox too. Oh, speaking of other things Yololiv could make, maybe they could be one of the ones to make a tiny little box that is just a webcam to HDMI converter. Because there's some of those, but they're like $300, and that's too much for a lot of things. It goes into the USB. It is on their website. That means I wouldn't be able to use the USB as a webcam. That is a problem. Well, cool. Okay, good. For some reason the HDMI is not coming back when I'm plugging it in the camera, which I don't understand why. So we're just going to have to end on this weird webcam view. But good enough. Hopefully that was fun. Weird stream today. And yeah, it looks like Lily's stream is up. It is live. Countdown is happening. So we are going to send you all over there. And yeah, good stream. What else? Oh yeah, follow me on Instagram. Don't forget, because I'm going to be doing more stuff with this on Instagram. So I don't have a TikTok. I'm not going to do that. But on Instagram, I will go live more. Is there a link? There is a link to most of the stuff I'm using for the stream is already in the description. I didn't put the Insta360 link there yet, but I will. I will add that shortly, very soon. Thanks for a very weird stream. See you next week. With any luck, this event will go well, and I will not get stuck here, and I will be back in Portland for next Sunday's stream, and hopefully back in Portland for a couple of Sundays after that too, and we can get the studio back together, because man, it's been a weird time, basically all summer, of not having the studio put together. So hopefully that will come back together nicely. All right, thanks everybody, and I will see you all later. See you next time. Have a great rest of the day and rest of the week. Bye.